Hello, everyone. I guess it's time for one of my amazing videos. Sorry in advance. Just doing this in this format because it's easier than again talking to everyone individually. The event, if you will, that kind of prompted this actually has to do with a third-party notification that we received regarding uh, essentially mid-level E&M coding. They did a survey, and our coding was a little bit outside of what they expected based on the practice. So we just want to make sure again that all of our coding is accurate. And this website, Open Evidence, is a great tool to help you in your coding. Um, if you're not familiar already, if you're not using this already, it of course has other functions. Coding is not its primary purpose, but it really does a good job with that. So we'd like everyone to go ahead and sign up for this. Open Evidence is only available to licensed clinicians. When you sign up, just go to openevidence.com, say you want to sign up. I use my Gmail account. It's going to ask for, I believe it's NPI rather than license number, but you have to prove that you are actually a clinician. It's free, so there's no charge or anything like that. So first, Open Evidence is an LLM. So it's a chatbot like ChatGPT. The difference is the data set is closed, so it only uses um, journals and other sources that it vets that are approved for use. So you don't run into some of the problems you would use using ChatGPT, for instance, for medical information. So this is what the thing looks like. First, I thought I'd just, again, maybe you use this, but show you how you might use it just for clinical things. Just like any chat bot, you might say, how long does a patient have to be off Xarelto before sinus surgery? Takes a minute to analyze. Takes 5 minutes to analyze. Doesn't usually take that long. It's probably busy today. So it'll give you various things. In this case, it gives you a practice guideline that you can look at and um, learn all about for routine endoscopic sinus surgery, low to moderate risk, 1 day before the procedure, extensive sinus surgery, higher bleeding concern, 2 days before the surgery. Um, you know, this can be used in many ways. You can cut and paste an entire note and just say, "Hey, what do you think?" Or ask it a more specific question, and it does a really good job. That's actually not why we're doing this today. I want to show you how to. Oh, one other thing. It can also be used for CME. If you go to the CME page, it stores all of your different chats. These are different chats I've had with it. Um, you can click on these and answer like two questions, and it gives you free CME credit. So as you can see, I already have just from this year, I have like 80 credits available just from like using it in my daily practice and such. Again, that's not why we're using it. Um, so I'm going to teach you how to use this for coding. Um, you do not have to do what I'm going to do in this step, but it does help. The way chatbots like this work, um, they are going to give you much more useful information if you are very precise and tell them exactly what you want in exactly what format. And just so you don't have to do that every time, you can come over here into collections. You can see I've made a collection called E&M coding. You can make your own new collection up here. Um, and you can in collections you can drop different conversations you've had. In my case, I've only had this one conversation. Um, if you do this and you add the this collection and you want to add a question to it, you can do it from questions that you've already asked, these conversations, if you will, or you can hit a new conversation. So we'll hit a new conversation. When you start, before you ask it to actually give you a code for your note, you want to again give it some parameters. I have some things here saved. So I am going to cut and paste this in. So this is based on my experience of what has helped give a good answer that is very easy to read. You tell it for the purpose of this entire thread. I want you to always assume that E&M coding is based on MDN, that's medical decision making rather than time. And then I very specifically ask it to include all of these different parameters that you can see here. You might stop the video and kind of use this as a template to build your own. One thing I've noticed is sometimes it'll give credit to the allergy providers will often say that they reviewed Dr. Glenn's note, and so they're giving them credit, so to speak, for data for reading Dr. Glenn's note. Well, they can't because he's in our practice. The open evidence doesn't know they're in our practice unless you tell them that. Um, and then another thing is the OTC medication thing is really important with coding. So I tell it to always assume a medication is over the counter unless the note specifically says it was prescribed or it's a prescription or whatever the verbiage is. So anyway, look at that. And we're going to go back to the collection. I have already done that in this question, so we're going to open that up. So I have a little um, also, you can make those parameters as you go. If it's doing something that you don't like, just tell it, I don't, next time you do an E&M thing, don't do that. Don't do it in that way. You're being too verbose or limit it in whatever way you want. If you do it in the same conversation and it's saved in a collection, then you don't have to redefine that every time you go to do this. So I have a test case here saved. I'm just gonna cut and paste it. Maybe I did it in a word processor, so it would take out all the HIPAA stuff. So when you go to code something, or all you do is you go to, I'm not going to show it again for HIPAA reasons, but within Epic, just go to your note, and you just basically cut and paste. So you just cut and paste your entire note, including your assessment and plan and everything in here. So we're going to do that. This is actually a note from one of the allergy providers. I changed it just a little bit for the purposes of our thing. So I just tell it I want an E&M code at the top, and then I cut and paste in there. This is what the note was. Has allergies, uses Flonase, uses albuterol multiple times a day, et cetera, et cetera. There's an exam, data review, tent results, and notes reviewed, the assessment, and this is the plan. Um, this is I didn't mess with the plan. This is actually what the plan looked like from the particular allergy provider who did it. So we're going to see what it returns. So, um, it tells us that the E&M code for that visit should be 99203, and then it tells us why. So, number and complexity of problems, we can see that it counts them for you. We talked about asthma. We talked about um, chronic rhinitis and allergic conjunctivitis. So in the case of asthma, it bolds it to tell you that, okay, this was not just a stable chronic illness. This is a chronic illness with exacerbation progression, because the note said that it was, quote, getting harder to control over time and requiring albuterol multiple times a day. So that's more than just one stable condition. So, okay, so we have two chronic illnesses with stable that are stable, and we have one chronic illness with exacerbation. So that is a level 4 in terms of number and complexity. And then it tells you, why is it moderate? Well, per CMS, blah, 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 one or more chronic illnesses with exacerbation, etc. Amount and complexity of data. Well, it's saying that, well, that's limited. That's level 3. Why is that? Well, two tests were ordered, and it says, why limited? Two tests were ordered, 2 points. Oh, need 3 to get moderate. So we're only at a level 3. And it tells you some things you could have done, an external record review, independently interpreted a test, etc. Risks and complications. This is a level 3 as well. Why? Well, it has counted 0 prescription medications. It said that Flonase um, wasn't counted because it's assuming it's OTC because the note didn't say it was prescription, and albuterol. It's listed in medications, but no management documented in the plan, meaning that the person who they might have said, "Hey, continue your albuterol," but they didn't write it. You have to actually manage it. And remember that telling a patient that, hey, continue your albuterol, well, boom, that's prescription management right there. You did something, even if it's continue it. So why is it low? No prescription drug management. Um, in the case of mid-levels, this is going to be your primary risk is going to be prescriptions. So remember, prescriptions, prescriptions. So why is this a problem? Well, this was coded and submitted as a level 4, but the documentation does not really justify a level 4. So then it says, well, what would be needed? Again, order another test, or one of these other things, independently interpret a test, or discuss with an external physician, whatever, or document prescription drug management. Um, so let's see how smart it is. Let's go back here and say, put in this plan, um, patient encouraged to use, no, continue albuterol, will consider um, corticosteroid inhaler. Um, and then let's do this too. Let's say continue. Let's say not nasal spray, prescription Flonase. Okay, we'll see what that does. Cut and paste. Okay, code this. I cut and pasted it. See what it does. Oh, level 4. Well, why? So this hasn't changed. Number and complexity of problems. Amount and complexity of data hasn't changed. Moderate. Prescription dubs. Prescription Flonase. It recognized, oh, now this is a prescription because it said it was a prescription. And albuterol. Oh, it's encouraged to use albuterol. It's prescription management. And then it tells you why moderate per CMS. Moderate risk includes prescription drug management. Um, and there you go. Um, you could, if you really wanted to, you could say something like, um, you can ask it questions like, I, the patient was non-verbal and I got the history from his mom. Does this or something, how does this affect the code? It should be F with an A. Sorry, spelling. So it'll still go through the codes. But it'll now say to support the independent historian credit, the note should explicitly document that the history is obtained from the mother because the patient is nonverbal. Um, would this ch- change the overall level? And then you can tell it, don't give me all the details, just answer the basic question. Open evidence isn't as good as Chat GPT as at like regular conversations. But no, the overall level remains 99204. Um, anyway, so that's a silly example, but point is you can chat with this thing and figure out how to get your levels up to 4. Um, really what we'd like you to do is kind of do this for a while, like on literally every level 4, just to make sure that when you code a level 4, it's actually a level 4. We, of course, want people coding level 4s if the visit is actually, the documentation supports a level 4 in case of a CMS audit, which is really what this risk is about is CMS audits. If they actually audit us, they consider coding a 99203 when documentation really supports a 04. They consider that um, fraudulent as well. And it's silly, but they do. So it works both ways. So we want accurate coding. If you do a 4, if you document a 4, bill a 4, but we need that documentation there. Um, so. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. And please start doing this. And I'd be interested to get any feedback, what you think of it, and if you have any, again, quoting questions. And also, whenever you're using any chat bot, um, it's there to give you the tool, make you think about it. Don't If you disagree with it, they can be wrong, they can hallucinate, they can do weird things, but in general, I found this to be very, very, very good. So anyway, thanks. Sorry I rambled a bit. Have a good day.